everyone that's watching us from afar, from Uganda, from East Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Congo, everywhere in Africa, all countries, the whole world, all continents. We love you so much. We are Tribal Roots Studio. We are fixing Africa. And this is yet another time for geopolitics with your favorite Simon. Well, today we are going to have a very interesting topic. It's going to be about land degradation and pollution due to poor plastic and polythene dumping. It's a very interesting topic because it cuts across the whole world, and it affects most of the lives as far as livelihood is concerned. You know, land is where we live, land is where we stay, land is where we get our food from. I'm talking about agriculture. So if we degrade or if we pollute our land, it's more or less saying we are reducing our lifespan and we are risking our lives. So Tribal Roots said, no, we are here to fix Africa, we are here to fix the world, and we are going to talk about land pollution and degradation due to poor dumping of plastics and polythenes. First of all, I have two friends, the visitors, that we are going to detail this matter with. And one on my left, you can introduce yourself, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Sam Paul Talemwa. I'm here in Tribal Roots Studio today to encounter the matter to do with land degradation and pollution based on polythene. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. On my right, I have also my other visitor. Some of you know him, but on this time round, he is coming to tackle issues with land. So, sir, we are so delighted to see you here in geopolitics. You can introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Simon. My name is Daniel, and I'm so excited to be on your show today.
Okay.
I always watch you from a distance out there, but this is a great opportunity to join you here. Right. I know this is a show of brains.
I know.
Yes, it is, and that.
Brains.
And so it's a great privilege to sit with you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sit on your land, which is undegraded, and we shall digest this matter very well. So, first and foremost, I want us to know what exactly land degradation is or land pollution is. Basically, land degradation is the deterioration of the land surface and below the surface level of the land, and this has been an issue over, and also sometimes it's often also sometimes known as pollution. Is it really pollution? Is degradation pollution? So I'm going to ask one of my visitors, Sam, to really tell us what really land pollution is. Thank you.
So you asked a very interesting and intriguing question, if degradation is really pollution. As you said, pollution basically in the context of land would regard pollution as the degradation, or the deterioration, as you said, of the land's surface. But the surface can either be below or above the ground level. So we're having pollution being the deterioration of the land surface, while degradation, land degradation, we're seeing it being the loss of the biophysical value of the land. And here by biophysical value, we believe we have things like the nutrients of the land, the texture of the land, yes, and just among the very many things that we can talk about there. So we're seeing these two, though used concurrently sometimes or used in place of each other, they are terms or independent terms that can be used separate from each other.
All right, thank you. Well, he has told us about the definition of land pollution. Before I come back to Mr. Daniel, I wanted to ask you, like, if you have any simple view, outlook you have about land pollution and degradation. For our viewers outside there, we shall be using these words interchangeably, so don't get mixed up. Any view, any statistic about land pollution? Why is it of health concern? Is it something we're imagining that it's coming in the future, or it's something that has been there, is there, and it will be there? Do you have something to talk about? What is it of health concern? And
yeah, thank you very much. Land degradation and land pollution are very, very, very key matters to discuss. Besides, it's the reason we're here today in the studios. So basically, with land degradation, we're seeing it being a very, very, very key factor, because we know, as he mentioned, land is where we get most of our things. Most importantly, food. Africa basically believes in agriculture.
Yeah, true.
So does the rest of the world as well. We see it happening widely in Mexico and other cities. So when land is degraded, it loses its value and its nutrients. Okay, and now that brings a very huge concern, because hunger, my friend, is something we don't play around with.
Yes,
especially because it's a very, very damaging effect. So we're seeing Africa, the land degradation in Africa alone is responsible for about 2 to 3% of the general land degradation across the world. We're seeing continents like Asia being responsible for up to 33% of the land degraded. So I think maybe I would say Kongs to Africa, they may be treating land very much more importantly other than other cities. While for pollution, we have a problem in pollution, because in general in the world right now, land pollution is estimated to be at a percentage of about 75% of the land being polluted already. And we have very, very many factors or causes that we shall discuss prior as the station goes through. We're having all those factors are responsible for the 75%, and the statistics I'm giving you are based on a research program that was run by individuals with like minds like us who were very intrigued into this factor. And this research was done in 2020, just not so far, 2 years ago. And they estimated at the end of the research, they drew conclusions that by 2050, we shall have a percentage, if everything goes the way it is, if nothing is done, the percentage is seen to rise to about 95%. Imagine living in a world where 95% of the land is polluted. It is not a very good. It's not a very good thing. And we are seeing land pollution, health-wise, being responsible for about 300 to 400 issues. Health issues. Examples are the biochemical substances absorbed by our feet. Commonly that we're seeing in our people here in Uganda, in Mayuge district. That was due to the land pollution, and they saw their feet getting cut. Okay, they were saying it was a effect of a chemical that was used as a pesticide back in the days. This chemical stayed in the ground and it was absorbed by their feet and cut their feet. That is just a slight example, but they say it's responsible for about 300 to 400 diseases and health conditions developed by people. Briefly, that's just the overview of the statistics I could give you.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Sam. Just like he has said, land degradation and land pollution is responsible for a lot. Statistics also tells us that land degradation and pollution is responsible for 3.2 billion lives that are affected negatively. So now that we have seen the details of land degradation and pollution and statistics, I'm very sure you're also convinced that it's a topic that you need to sit down and listen and give us your like minds. And I always, just like I always tell you, please comment with your views about what we are saying, your own perspective of what land degradation maybe is, or maybe how it has affected your community wherever you are, so that we can also, some of these things are very useful to us, because we also now convey the message back, and we say from this place, they have said this is it. So it is a global health concern so much. And now that we've talked about the statistics of land degradation and land pollution, we want now to go straight to the causes of, now we are going straight to poor dumping of plastics and pollutants as one of the parts of, or one of the major parts of land degradation and pollution. So we are going straight up to, I think, the causes of land pollution due to poor dumping of plastics and pollutants. So back to you, Mr. Daniel. I want you to first of all tell us about the causes of land pollution and degradation due to poor dumping of plastics and pollutants. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Simon. I appreciate my colleague, Mr. Sample, his submission. It really communicates how urgent it was, or it is, for us to discuss this matter. And so and this is a very much considerable question, because one of the things, actually, if it's not taking like 90% part in the pollution of the land, then I don't know, plastics and polythene. And so well, as civilization goes on, the lifestyle of people changes, and you realize that as we go on, the population also grows, in the civilization of the human species. And so as the population grows in the world, you realize that also the amount of garbage, including the plastics, increases. What leads to this, to us even starting to talk about plastics in the context of polluting the land is because these things actually accumulate, and when they accumulate in a certain area, they start affecting the area or the environment in a negative way. That's when it becomes a concern. And the scope of the effects is so wide. You realize that wildlife is affected, crops, the nature is affected, and even human beings, us ourselves, we are affected in very different ways. And so you realize that the impact of these plastics is not only just as you see it there being dumped and that's all, but it can affect as it is in the material it's made, also when it's burnt, and it pollutes the air, in a free environment, because when you go, I don't have the time to go into how all the composition of these plastics and polythene, but you realize that most of the components used, they are toxic. They are major toxic products, and so they are very, very harmful to the environment. And so what I can say, the impact is so deep. Yeah. And what I can say, you asked about the causes. I'm coming there. I'm seeing it's but I needed to build this foundation.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. So the causes, we can look at many of the causes here, and first of all, there are what I can say, these kind of products, these are kind of plastics that we are considering here. They are very cheap. That's the first thing. They are very cheap. And because they are cheap, people don't attach a lot of value to them. And so when they are used for packaging, it's so easy for someone to dump it immediately after use, which is dangerous to our environment. And you realize that even to the list of the products that you may think of that are used daily, they are being packed in plastics, and yet we could have many better options that can function for packaging, and also they are not harmful to our environment. Yeah, and that's one of the causes of this pollution we are crying about right now. Very cheap and affordable, though it's very necessary. By the way, plastic is very important. It's very important, but we consider the benefits and the harms. And you realize that another cause is that it's everywhere. It's everywhere, and one, especially in Africa, one of the most common ways of dumping these plastics is having like how can I call them, like pits, trash pits, which they are actually dug into the earth, and this where these plastics are being dumped. And the effects of those plastics, when someone is not seeing the plastics on the surface, they might say now it's safely dumped off and all that, but the effects in there, they are of long duration, because if you are to consider plastics, they are not easily biodegradable. And you might find that the average of that buried plastic in the earth, the average time for it to start being degraded is between 400 to 600 years.
True.
And that's very long. Consider the effects and many generations that are going to suffer because of these careless habits and methods that we consider helpful in controlling the disposal. Yeah, and yet people are not stopping to dump these things anyways. So every other day you start afresh counting the 600 years.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's very, very important we consider the way we dump. So that's one cause, one other cause. And also, as urbanization grows, every other day, of recent I was passing a place I used to consider very, and you wonder how it has transformed along. Yeah. Along. For those who are watching, for us at Tribal Roots, there's a road that goes from where we are, the Tribal Roots of studios, to a place called Imbara. It's a beautiful place in the western part of Uganda. And so you realize that as urbanization continues to spread, and the concentration of people is in certain areas, there is need for a sort of comfort, of people. So the increase in need for such kinds of things like plastics, for packaging things, for people doing business, for people who want things delivered safely in their offices and their work environments. It's enormous. And so this also has contributed greatly to the to the land pollution and the environmental pollution in general by plastics and polythene. Yeah, and the good news that I can say is that if we start looking at this with a keen eye and putting it on our minds, there are many better alternatives that we can resort to for us to save the kind of environment, Africa, and the world at large. And so, yeah, that's what I can say.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Daniel. Well, our viewers, I thank you so much for watching us. Before we conclude, I wanted to ask Mr. Sam the last question. Okay, on top of what Mr. Daniel has said, he has said very interesting points. I hope we've been noting and we've been realizing that they cut across even where you're seated. They affect you.
You know, Mr. Simon,
Yes.
before, because I'm afraid you may not come back to me.
Okay.
There is, I think that was in March.
Yes.
Last year, 2021, when there is a sailing boat on Lake Victoria, that's in East Africa, where we are. If you've heard of it, Flip Floppy.
Yeah.
Flip Floppy Dough. It was launched last year by the United Nations Environment Program, and this is a sailing boat exclusively made out of plastics. And when I looked at this, it was so interesting because it has a 3-week schedule, moving on different places into different places in East Africa, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, sensitizing people about the effects of plastics. And then when I looked at this, I was like, this is something capturing the different ways that we can consider to curb the effects that can come with poor disposal of plastics. You know, when we are to improve on that, we start thinking about recycling, reuse, reduce, you know, and all that. So you can look out for it, like for people watching us. I've not followed it in quite a while, but yeah, I felt it should be something we look at it when we are talking about this kind of topic.
All right, thank you so much. Back to me. Besides that, I wanted to reduce your worry by saying you should not be afraid. Still, I'll come back to you and you'll have 1 to 2 things to say. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Sam, I wanted to ask whether, on top of what Mr. Daniel has said, whether you have any other point on the causes of land pollution and degradation due to poor dumping of plastics and polythenes.
Okay, I don't know if you feel the same way as me, but it's a huge pleasure to be in the company of minds like Mr. Daniel, and basically, actually sitting here and listening to him speak made me realize how far much people get intrigued with such topics. And on the issue of the causes, I was actually more enlightened by his submission.
Okay.
Far much than what I had in mind.
Yes.
Okay? He taking you back to the point he mentioned about the polythenes being dumped into land, and then he put it in a cyclic way that when these polythenes are burnt, it leads to air pollution. Okay, so it gives me a picture of right now we may be handling land pollution caused by polythene bag dumping, but within a very, very short period of time, we're going to come back and relate this topic to air pollution. Okay, so that's why I sat back and I was like the viewers who are not here, I'm actually learning a lot in the presence of this mind.
All right, thank you so much. Well, I have also learned a lot from what has been discussed and what is still being discussed. First of all, due to time, we are going to end on definition and what we said about land pollution and the causes. And come next week, I know you're very excited and you can't wait to see us come back again here for the effects, for the solutions. What are we supposed to do? Because it's the major issue that we are supposed to do. How are we solving land pollution and degradation due to plastic and polythene dumping? I'm very sure you're very excited. Thank you so much. Before I leave the studio with my visitors, I wanted Mr. Sam to give us just your last word. I don't know, whatever you can give us, a recommendation, a conclusion. I don't know. You can even greet us. I don't know, something like that, as we leave the studio for next week.
Okay. What I would say is it's a great opportunity to have a platform like Tribal Roots. It's not something so small to be taken for granted, because the magnitude of people or the magnitude of views these things we're discussing may impact may be greater than we can imagine. Okay, and I just want to say I'm very grateful, very glad to be part of this great work, this work in progress that is happening, and I can't wait to be hosted here again.
Thank you so much. Mr. Sam, as we were starting the show, I remember you talked of land degradation bringing hunger. As I talk, I may be feeling hungry, but thank God, when I was thinking about my hunger, I remembered that I have an orchard which has oranges, and I'm assured of the juice which is coming from my oranges that has land which is undegraded.
You know,
yes,
there is a proverb.
Yes.
From the Tishi tribe in Ghana.
Yeah.
Which says, when the yam does not grow, you don't blame the yam, you blame the soil.
True.
And who takes care of the soil?
It is, of course, us.
It is because of us.
Yeah.
And there is a wise woman who say that when you remember the land remembers you. I thought about those proverbs when you talked about your oranges and
the undegraded land.
Indeed, the undegraded land which was remembered has remembered you.
Yeah.
And it has produced the juice that we're going to enjoy after right here at this. I can't wait to have a taste.
Me too, that's what I was going to say.
I'm very sure they are motivating me to give them, and we are sharing the juice.
Obviously.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Daniel, do you have any last words you can?
Well, I just want to thank you. I'm so grateful for this opportunity, for this platform of Tribal Roots, which is actually an avenue for us to reach our goal, to a wider coverage. And so I'm so grateful. Hope our viewers find this so beneficial, and it will help our continent, Africa, and the world at large. Thank you, our viewers. So grateful.
All right. Thank you so much, our viewers. We are fixing Africa. This is Tribal Roots across the continent. We love you so much. See you next week. Invite a friend, and please don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and comment. It's very useful for us. Your information is very useful for us. Thank you so much.